compatible assets, then under the collectibles section, you'll be able to see those displayed. Then it'll ask you to create a name, register yourself, and accept the terms and conditions, and then it will pop you into Genesis Plaza, which are the 0, 0 coordinates for Decentraland, where everybody kind of pops in when they first get started. I think I saw Italia Fireson. Looked like you went off mute and might have had a question. Just want to give you a chance to ask if you did.
Hi guys, thanks.
Yeah, of course. You have a question?
Actually no, thanks.
Okay, no worries. So once you hop into Decentraland, it can be a little confusing to get oriented and figure out, exactly where to go. Genesis Plaza, again, is just the drop-in point, and you will see these 3D displays of different activities and events going on, but another way to access that without going to Genesis Plaza is just by clicking X on your keyboard. So X will open up your Explore page where you can see events that are up and coming, events that are currently trending, or if you click on places, it'll show you where the majority of people are right now. So one of the top places is always going to be the Wonder Mine or some of the poker lounges. The poker lounges are very, very popular right now. And then you can navigate, obviously there are hotkeys here like I, M, and P, but navigate through your backpack. You can open up the Decentraland map and you can directly teleport anywhere just by clicking on one of these tiles and then clicking jump in. Let's see. Why isn't it? There we go. Just like this. And then you can click jump in. If you know exactly where you want to go, you can also type in a command. But I want to go over the settings a little bit too, because a lot of people have performance issues in Decentraland depending on how powerful your PC is. So I personally am running everything on ultra settings with max scene rendering radius and everything maxed out. But if you are facing issues in Decentraland with it lagging or it taking a long time to load, two main things you want to do is one, just reducing your overall graphics quality, and then if that still doesn't work, reducing your scene load radius. And basically that just reduces the amount of scenes away from you, or parcels in this case, that will load while you're there. But I like to keep my stuff on max. Zumzi, I see you're unmuted. Do you have a question? No? All right. If not, then we can go over some of the places to navigate to in Decentraland just to get a feeling of what's going on. So two popular things that are going on right now. You can see this individual has his Mountain Dew jetpack on. So Mountain Dew actually just entered into Decentraland, and they have an event going where you can get this 5-piece wearable set for free. And I wonder where that build is right now. The other scene that's currently huge right now is the Netflix event that is going on. Netflix just entered into Decentraland as well, and they have quests and activities that you can do on their property in order to get wearables for that as well.
Maybe you can get a bit more basic. What's like the main activities people do in Decentraland? What are the biggest games or whatever you can play? Maybe you can go more into that.
Yeah, of course. So there are some that are play to earn, and then there are some that are just play for fun. So Quiz Zone is going on right now, and the Quiz Zone is exactly what it sounds like. There are, and we can hop in there. I don't think I'll be able to join because I'm joining a little bit late, but this is hosted by Dapcraft, one of the main development groups in Decentraland, and every couple of weeks, they host something called the Quiz Zone, and you enter and then it goes off asking a bunch of questions. So you'll see they're currently on question 22, and you're able to respond to the questions just by going to these different tiles, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then if you get it correct, you get points, and there's a leaderboard, and at the end of the competitions, the prizes are either, some sort of cash prize, or they're wearable prizes, or, if it's a really big competition, could even be something like a land prize. So when the Quiz Zone is running, the Quiz Zone is definitely a popular activity for people to stop by and participate in. It's just kind of, fun. There are some perks, and there's leaderboards that run throughout the entire season that they're hosting the quizzes. One of the areas that is kind of considered like the Decentraland watering hole, I would say, is, if this will load, maybe I need to reduce I'm streaming and I'm recording right now, so it might be a little slow for me. But if we can go over to the Wonder Mine, come on.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yeah, of course, go for it.
Sorry for my English. I don't speak English. I have a stupid question. The places are on lands, right?
Yeah, like they're on land.
Okay.
Is that what you said?
Yes, I think that was your question.
Yes. So the way that it works is when you click M on the map, every single one of these little squares is what we call a parcel. And the dark gray areas, these are privately owned land. And people trade these on the secondary market, either through OpenSea or through the Decentraland marketplace. So I'll open up the marketplace really quick. And while that loads, I'll continue talking through the different colorings. The lighter gray, these are all roads that are, built into Decentraland. So nobody can purchase these and nobody can build on these. That's just kind of the way the structure is laid up. The different plazas are foundation-run plazas. So there's different areas across Decentraland with kind of different activities and whatnot, and this is run by the foundation. And then every single blue area is called a district. And these districts were set up at the very beginning. Up top, you have what is kind of the gambling district. Across it, you have Festival Land. So this is where the Metaverse Music Festival was hosted, which actually had like Deadmau5, Paris Hilton, and Alice in Wonderland performing live. Here is a district for Decentraland University, so a lot of educational stuff is going in there. But yes, every single parcel is a piece of land, and depending on whether or not it's in a district, there might be certain restrictions about how you go about developing within a district. But if you were purchasing and developing on private land, then that land is an NFT that you own, and whatever you are capable of developing and deploying on that land, you are allowed to do.
Right. Thank you. Sorry for my English.
No worries. So if we look at the marketplace, like I was mentioning, there is a OpenSea, which people are very familiar with, where you could also purchase Decentraland land just by typing in Decentraland, and then it'll pop up a couple of different categories. So you would just want straight up Decentraland. And on here, it's sold in ETH or mana. So we can see the floor price for a single parcel right now is just over 2 ETH. On the Decentraland marketplace, everything is sold in mana, and everything is sold in Polygon mana, actually. So it's on the Matic mainnet. And if we scroll down, we can look at the parcels and estates as well. And all of these light blue areas are parcels that people are currently selling. So the land in Decentraland is all sold out, and all of the sales that are currently happening are secondary sales compared to, the primary initial land release. So if you wanted to buy a big chunk of land, this one is, $300,000, for example. But we will get into a little bit more about how to develop that land in a quick second. Let's see if I can teleport out now. Oh, also, yeah, if you ever have any questions about controls, you can just click C, and C on your keyboard when you're in game will pop up all of the controls for you. But we are going to hop back to places. And
how does it work with districts? Who owns them? Who buys them?
Yeah, so every district was pre-planned during the initial release of Decentraland land. So basically the way that it worked is there were no districts, but a bunch of people came together and they bought a bunch of land, and people developed kind of these plans for districts, and that set aside like what is this kind of vibe and feel going to be like. So there's a fashion district, for example, and that's where people host the Metaverse Fashion Week, and they're trying to bring in a lot of fashion brands there. And anybody who was buying land during the initial release, they could view all of these different district plans that people had proposed, and you could choose to contribute your land to that district idea. And that's how the size of the districts came to be. So a bunch of people came up with a bunch of different plans. People that had purchased land contributed that land to those districts, and those districts are now in place, based off of the amount of contributions that initially happened a few years ago.
Does anyone have a question regarding land, regarding experiences, regarding what we just saw? And then I think we can go towards the building side of things, so how to create assets, how to, the more technical stuff.
Is there the ability to portal from one land to another land on one side of the map to the other side of the map?
Yes. So, you can just teleport inherently. So, wherever I decide to click right now, I can just click and I can... it's lagging a little bit, but I can just click and then I can choose to jump in and it will teleport me there. But if you mean, can you actually put a portal on your land that teleports you somewhere else? Yes, you can also do that. So maybe you work with other groups in Decentraland and you want to be able to have a direct connection between your building and somebody else's building on the other side of the map. You can put in a portal that just teleports people to that other location, assuming that the other location has a receiving portal there. So you couldn't just go willy-nilly putting in portals. I don't think there has to be the connections on both sides, but definitely. So that was one way to teleport there, just clicking on the map. And then if you were to type in /go to, you can also type in direct coordinates of where you want to go, and that'll automatically teleport you. I actually just removed the main build we have from here right now because we're working on some construction. But for example, if I wanted to put a 3D teleporter in here, somebody would be able to come up to it, click on it, and then it would take them wherever I wanted to go.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. I do want to look at some of the build stuff, but in terms of just getting into Decentraland, walking around Decentraland, and the experiences that are available, are there any questions prior to moving on to actual building?
So I think we have 2 questions left in the chat. So one is, Samsung will support voxel builders for learning how to make assets for Decentraland. Maybe some streams of how to make assets. So just to reply this in a broad way, we're actively talking with Blender communities and people who are using Blender for their living. And so that's definitely something we are considering, but we'll give you more information about this in the future. But yeah, that's something we're looking into. And the second question is, what is the interface like for landowners when they're developing the land? I think that's something you will explain just after.
Yes. Okay, yeah, that's a good one that I can explain right now, actually. So for example, here I own 18 parcels. So I own a 4x4 that's right here, and then I own these 2 parcels over here. So once I own those are NFTs that you can see in your wallet. But when you actually want to deploy something, there's 2 ways that you can deploy it. And well, I guess there's 2 ways that you can create, and then also 2 ways that you can deploy. So I'm going to exit out of this just so it doesn't bog down my computer while I show you this. But if you go to Decentraland and you just simply log into the builder, even if you don't own any land, you can create new scenes, and you can set the limit on how large you want that scene to be, taking into consideration the fact that every parcel or piece of land is 16 by 16 meters in Decentraland. And then if you have one parcel, the max build height is 20 meters, but for every additional parcel you have that is connected, that actually increases the amount of height that you have to build in. It increases your poly count limit or try limit. So every parcel has a 10,000 count try limit. But if we want to just, for example, create a 1x1 parcel that you want to test out, and this is, regardless of whether or not you own land, it will just deploy a random 1x1, and then you can go through and you can use what is currently available in the builder. Why is that? Etheria. There we go. So there's these glossy Ethereum tiles, for example. I'll put that down as the floor. Maybe I want to put a video screen in. So anything that has a lightning bolt on the bottom right is actually a smart object. So it's not just going to pop in and not have any sort of functionality. You can actually pop it in, and then you can put in a channel where you can stream live content, or you can post, pre-recorded content or videos or images that will be hosted here as well. And you can easily move it around, or, rotate it, or scale it even, and make it as big or as small as you want based off of the size of your scene. Let's see.
So how does that work? Would you just put the URL link of the video in the asset and then it just plays automatically?
So that depends on which one you're using. This is actually a video stream screen. So I need the channel URL. So for this, I would put in
For instance, you can take our stream right now and put it there.
If you have a .m3u8 link, I could put that in here, yes. So
I don't know what kind of link that is.
It's it would look like, 1 second, let me open up a chat really quick and I'll grab it. It would look like this. So I'm streaming from OBS, right? So it's a and I have my own server. So I've got a specific stream ending in .m3u8, and I can put that in. And then, when I run my OBS in streaming format, this stream would pop out on the other end. But there are also other things here, like just a billboard screen that doesn't play videos. So if you were to put something like that in, it'll just take your image URL. And
okay,
again,
so for the stream, it should come from the source. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, so I would stream, for example, through my OBS,
okay.
and then in my OBS settings, I have a stream output going to a specific server, and this is the RTMP. But then I take the M3U8 to plug it into the screen and basically route what I'm streaming through to Decentraland at that point. It's a little complex for streaming, but it's not that bad once you get it all done and set up. But again, this is the builder, which is the most basic way to build in Decentraland. What's good about it is that it does come pre-populated with a lot of the available assets from Decentraland that you can use. Some of them you can interact with, like push buttons or elevators, or I believe you had mentioned a teleporter earlier. So here is an example of a pre-built teleport pad. So if you own some land, you want to be able to teleport to a different location, you can just drop this in, say where you want people to teleport to on the other end, and then when you deploy this, people can come up, click on it, and it takes them wherever they want to go, or wherever you decide that they go, rather. And then additionally, you are able to download these scene files and export them and import them into Blender so that you can play around with them additionally. But I will show you what typically happens. And this is because there are, like I said, development constraints within Decentraland and the scene sizes, and the builder items are not very efficient just when it comes to poly count in the way that it's built. And for example, like if you were to put a wall in, right, this wall actually is not very effective because just the way that they've built it, you'll max out try counts, very quickly if you were using some of these assets, especially like the ones with zigzags, instead of these actually being a texture on top of some file. I believe this adds increased poly counts because of the way that they've developed the ridges, like you can see. So for developers in Decentraland that are very, skilled and trying to create very unique experiences, they all do the developments in Blender. And like I had previously mentioned, a parcel starts off as 16 by 16 meters. So if you add just a blank plane to Blender, that's actually a 2 by 2 meter plane. You can size it by 8 and you get your 16 by 16 meter plane. And then if you wanted to, say, duplicate it and, rotate it on the y-axis by 90 degrees, and then we'll raise that up and move this back, and we'll go into the stats here, and we'll make the Z, why is that scale? Here we go. No, it's not working either. Do I need to be in edit mode? Edit to, we'll just grab this and we'll pull this up. What is that at? What is this height? I forget where I find the height, but this is around where your build structure would be for a one parcel, and this is kind of how I lay all my stuff out. So now if I go ahead and let's delete this, and I go ahead and I import or open up one of my recent files, you can see what we are currently working on. So this is the build that'll be deployed for our event tomorrow. And the majority of this is all 3D modeled. And so, well, everything in here has been 3D modeled. You also have to add colliders. For those of you that don't know what colliders are, that's what makes sure people don't jump out or walk through walls. So basically everything has an additional layer of colliders. So this is what the visual piece is in terms of the third floor balcony. And then we have a collider on top of that. And if we look at the face orientation through the statistics here, or through the geometry here, you can see that the red and the blue kind of dictates where people walk through and where people don't. So on the bottom floor here, the seating looking at the TV is red on the back. So if people walk through the back of it, they can walk directly through the object. But if they are coming up through the front, they can't walk through the object because there are colliders on the front. I should probably actually make that just an entirely solid object, but that's kind of beside the point right now. So the majority of development happens in the Blender, and you can also import wearable models as well. So if wearable creation is something that you are interested in, Decentraland has very extensive documents on how to actually go about creating wearables in Decentraland. And then at the very bottom, they even have wearable reference models that you can download with sample textures and the sample base mesh, which is most important, along with the rigging. So I believe, let's see, if I go ahead, I'm going to import a GLTF file from my desktop to seal curations. We're going to go with our base female, and there you see a base female was just put in. So these are the base dimensions for the female avatar. So if you're trying to develop wearables instead of develop a building, Decentraland has the base avatars readily available so that you can begin developing. And then once you're done, whether you're developing a building or if you're developing a wearable, you are just going to export it in GLTF format. And when you go back to the Decentraland builder, you can actually now import these assets as GLTF. So you would say add a new asset pack. You're going to browse through your stuff. Let's see, we'll go to DCL curations. We'll import the base female, import asset, create asset pack. Since it was in GLTF, it automatically uploads, and now I can drop that into the scene. So obviously I didn't change anything with this avatar, but you could have done whatever you wanted with it, and then you can easily drop it in here. And compared to using the builder for walls and stuff like that, it's much more efficient in terms of triangle count, materials, and everything like that. It's also important to note that on the bottom left, you will see the build constraints for a 1x1 piece of land. And if you were to, deploy a 2x2, 3x3, whatever it might be, 1x17, it will give you these constraints. Now, when deploying through Builder, it's as simple as clicking Publish. I don't have land on this wallet, so let me change wallets really quick. Go to this one. So if you wanted to see what it looks like to deploy land, you'd open this in editor, whatever you're currently building, and then you would click publish. You can publish to the scene pool, which means you're making it basically publicly available for anybody to download and use, or you can publish it to your land. And then when you zoom out, this is basically the map of Decentraland, and it shows you what you currently own and where you currently can deploy. So for a scene this size, even though, I own those 2 up there and I own these 16, I can deploy this through these 16 right here. And that's what it looks like if you own land and you're trying to deploy. Additionally, you don't actually have to own land, because the way the land is built in is that you can actually be delegated operator rights as well. So I have...
So, wait. So sorry, before we go further into this, 97A had the last question about Blender. Mm-hmm. Saying obviously colliders are one thing, but what other things might be unique for your average Blender user starting to develop for DCL?
Okay, yeah, great question. I would say that comes down to poly count, height limits, and things like that. So, for example, on a 1x1, you have a max build height of 20 meters. I believe this is currently around 35 meters. So you have to be aware of that constraint, right? Then the poly count also, because if you are trying to add a ton of assets, like say you want chandeliers and you want couches and colliders themselves, just double the poly count, unless you're building your colliders more efficiently than you're building your build. Those are the things that you want to be aware of in terms of deploying. Baking textures can often help as well. But outside of that, you've got your simple objects. Let me turn off this face orientation. You have different materials that you can replace. If you're trying to really texture something well, you can open up your UV editor. Let me pull this back over a little bit. And when you're in edit mode, you will see how the texture is currently lined up and how you want to mess with it. I don't know why that one looks so weird. There we go. So here's what my bookshelf texturing looks like. And sometimes you will want to manually texture, but I would say oftentimes it is more beneficial just to simply go to UV unwrap faces and either unwrap or smart UV project. But those materials are put in through the materials section. For the colliders, you got to strip away your materials. That'll just bog down your scene more and the colliders won't act properly. But I guess you could add animations in Blender as well to the main scene, but typical Blender rules apply as long as you're developing within the scene constraints of Decentraland, I would say.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure, because you went very fast about all those different topics and you went very technical very quickly. It's fine. I just want to make sure that everybody here understood everything until now. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you want re-explanations on specific topics, if you want like a step-by-step, slower approach to explain what you would need to do exactly and how the things work, let us know as well. Just maybe write in the chat, either in the voice chat or in the DCL AMA if you're fine until now. A little yes or something, so we know.
I mean, Blender can be very complicated. Just because there's so much that you can do with Blender. You know, physics comes into play. The amount of I should say one of the things to take into consideration is that you're not typically rendering stuff. You're not going to be developing these hyper realistic scenes that take 2 days to render. I build out a model file, export it as GLTF, head back over to the builder, hop in a scene, and when I open it in editor, you can add your asset pack as a GLTF or a zip file if you have one. So you're not going to get into the complexities and interworkings of Blender all day, but that's kind of as simple as the workflow gets. Build it in Blender, export as GLB or GLTF, and then upload to the DCL builder for deployment.
Okay, perfect. And what are the constraints, you would say, in Decentraland itself? Any specific things people need to be wary of?
Yes. So like right now, let's go to builder scene limitations. Here we go. So this is really the most important thing for developing in scenes. When you are developing experiences, you could easily go over your try count, but you could also more likely blow your file size. So if you're trying to put in like gamified experiences and whatnot, you want to make sure that you're doing it really in the most efficient way possible so that you're not blowing the scope of what your scene is capable of doing. If you're deploying through Builder, you can't exceed scene limitations at all. It just will not let you deploy. But an alternate option is deploying via the SDK. Now this gets a little bit more complex, but if you are familiar with coding, and let me go to this right now. You can go to the Getting Started section for Decentraland and the SDK. Really all it's going to do is install the Decentraland assets and connections, and then you have these.
Okay, so wait, before you go on this topic, I just want to clarify. In Decentraland, there are 3 levels of complexity you can put in an asset. You have the basic builder mode, which you just saw. So like the files that are just included in Decentraland that you can take on the marketplace, or very simple stuff you can build. Then you can do on Blender. So basically you are 3D modeling stuff from scratch, and then you can import it onto your land. And you have then the 3rd level, which is called smart assets, which is the most complicated thing you can do. And this requires coding skills. And it's basically what you will explain just after, but it's basically implementing smart mechanics or more complex stuff inside an asset so it has some interactions. For instance, if you're creating headphones that are playing music, that would be a smart asset, for instance.
Yes, and smart assets and wearables are a little bit different than smart assets when you build them in scenes. Smart wearables are something that Decentraland is currently working on, and the issue that they're facing there is creating the portable experiences. So if you own land, you can code whatever you want in there. I could code it so that every time somebody walks onto land, they turn into a pickle with a jetpack and they can fly around. But when they leave that land, they turn back into their avatar and they don't have a jetpack. So that's a non-portable experience. Portable experience gets into your coded wearables, which is something that is currently being tested by Decentraland. But you can code in experiences for your land fairly easily. So here's an example of the shell of the building we were just looking at. We had created some other Blender assets like the couches and everything, but if I want to add some smart objects, I'm going to just navigate to my desktop. I'll navigate to the folder that it's in, and then I'll navigate to, I think it's 23 CS. And then I can just type in DCL start. And what this is going to do is this is going to deploy a test environment for me where I can test it out. And what you're able to do in the SDK in terms of putting in, teleporters or like shooting experiences or even like NPCs that people can interact with and talk to. You're going to be doing all that for the most part through code. So right now, we just deployed this test environment via the SDK, and some things that you'll see that are kind of unique here that we couldn't do in Blender is that right now my character is dancing, right? And I'm not making them dance. But if I walk over here, my character is no longer dancing. So one of the things that we have coded into the scene is that under the screen, there is an automated dance floor that forces every avatar to dance. Something else that we have in is this custom teleporter. So if you hold F while you're here, you will start to float up, or at least you should. Maybe I pulled from the wrong file. Oh no, there I go. Going kind of slow. But you start floating up, and then we have custom portals that have been put in as well that take you to other areas that you could otherwise not access. And that portal just teleports you to different areas, and we're working on the gamification of things through portaled experiences. You can also add in custom links. So we have, Sandstorm's Twitter here for everybody to go and check out during the event. And we actually have VIP access to another Sandstorm asset in the sky. So if you own certain NFT wearables and you go up to this portal, you would actually be airdropped into a VIP viewing room. But you can see I'm on a test character right now, and I don't own the assets that give me VIP access, so I cannot access the VIP space. All of those.
On that front, that's maybe a very good transition. What are NFTs? What aren't NFTs? How does this work? What's being made with the files? How can we, make sure people are protected with their assets? How does this all work?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, wearables are the main thing that is developed as NFTs in Decentraland. So if you want to release a wearable, and let me just exit out of the builder and go back to Decentraland really quick. The wearables, let's see, go to builder. So under builder, we were previously looking at scenes, and this is where you would do your scene development. But if you go over to collections, this is where you actually upload and publish your wearables. So if I switch to my other account, I should have some here. There we go. And again, these wearables were developed in Blender, and then similar to how I uploaded the land scene, you drag and drop your GLTF file into the Decentraland builder for your wearable collections. And then when you go into it, you'll actually need to go through these different categories to determine, where it gets placed and if it hides anything. So if we equip this hat, I have it hiding the hair of this avatar, but if I take off that, the hair should come through the hat, I think. Yeah, so the hair now comes through the hat. So you have to develop the wearable, but then when you upload it into Decentraland, you also need to make sure that what you are, the slot that you're assigning it to and the things that it covers up are accurate. And then once you are happy with the way that your wearables look, you will actually go ahead and publish those. And when you publish a set of wearables, I believe it costs $150 per item. And once that gets pushed through, there's a wearable review committee that checks out all of the wearables, makes sure that there are no clipping issues, that you haven't exceeded, X, Y, and Z constraints, and that it's not going to bog down other individuals' experiences in Decentraland, and they get published, and then these become NFTs, right? So unless it's an NFT, you can't wear it. That's kind of not true, because they did just recently introduce linked wearables. So if you check out linked wearables, these are actually all collections that have integrated with Decentraland without the need of making it an NFT. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I thought somebody had a question. But 99% of wearables are all NFTs. So everything that you're seeing,
Also, feel like it was
sorry, is somebody?
Yeah, it's great. 1 second. Wait, let me mute him.
Okay.
Okay, it's fine.
So all of these wearables are NFTs, and that's just the way that the system works right now. But if you're developing for your own land, I mean, you could develop a 3D model in Blender, and then you could choose to say, upload this to OpenSea and make it an NFT that you sell. And then somebody could purchase that and download the model and deploy that on their land. But the majority of buildings are actually not NFTs. The land itself is an NFT, but the majority of the buildings that are on land aren't NFTs and are just things that are developed locally and then deployed to your scene. Are there any
Okay, awesome.
questions?
But
on
again,
that?
to do this, you need to own land, and if you own land, you can port whatever you want on there.
Right. But even if you don't own land, you can still go into the test environments.
Right.
And whether that's through the SDK or the builder, and you can still play around with deploying. And, instead
That's great. So that means that anyone here could, for instance, do some random 3D assets and go on Decentraland, open up the builder with the test land, and basically deploy anything they want to just test out the builder, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. Oh, by the way, maybe I can ask a more specific question because I saw very recently, I don't know where I saw it, I think on a stream or something. I saw someone who was playing a mini golf game.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, in that kind of example of cool experiences you can do, how do you do them? Like, what's the process? Maybe you can give us more insights on this. Like, how difficult is it to create such an experience realistically?
So there's something called, let me go to scene examples, physics, game mechanics. Let's go to game mechanics. So Decentraland has something called the Awesome Repository. And in this repository are a bunch of experiences that have been created. So if you're looking to develop a game in Decentraland and you're not quite sure how to animate NPCs or how to have a projectile object travel from one end to the other, you can go through this and you can download all of these assets and you can see how does this work, and these you can upload directly to Decentraland and test for yourself. So for anybody looking to create unique experiences, I would definitely say that this is, an amazing repository to go through to figure out how the interactions and the code works. And then it's just a matter of applying these different things to what you're trying to do. So we are teleporting right now to the golf craft environment, and you can see here that not only have they deployed a unique building on their scene, but they have also coded in a custom UI that shows up. And then when you go over to play and you want to start playing, they actually have this environment layered. So you'll notice on the land, I'm actually still in the same location, but they have essentially used an engine that duplicates the scene and teleports you to another location. And now you can go ahead and play mini golf. So they have taken it a step further, and they've actually...
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so...
That's so cool.
The way that they have this working right now, and actually I don't know how to teleport out without the time running up, so I'm just going to refresh. But the way that Golfcraft is set it up is they've attached and integrated your gameplay to that UI and rewards system. So the more you play, the more tournaments you participate in, and the higher you score in those tournaments, rewards you with points and tickets, and then you can trade those tickets in for boosts that give you, higher rewards while you're in a tournament, or you can even trade those in for NFT wearables that you can upgrade and that also give in-game benefits and stuff like that. For example, here, I've just got a level 1 club, but based off of your gameplay and the assets you have, you can go ahead and you can upgrade your club. And then I believe I might need to go upstairs for the wearables. Second floor. Is it on the 4th floor? Might be on the 4th floor. Maybe it's on the 3rd floor. But yeah, the point is, if you want to create a game, there's an awesome repository that gives you a bunch of the code to make certain things possible, such as shooting and having certain targets recognized by the platform. And then you can leverage that to develop your own unique experience. And you can even tie completion of certain tasks or performance on certain tasks to a reward system that actually allows people to trade in these rewards for other objects like NFTs or just, in-game centralized items that give in-game perks.
Yeah, that's great. So that means that even builders who can't code can use all those mechanics that have been published for anyone to use and use them in their own little games.
Yeah. Yep.
That's super cool. Is there anything else you want to cover? I think maybe we can open up for questions now. I know it was very dense and we went over a lot in an hour. This has been recorded, guys, so we'll share you the VOD later on if you want to rewatch it or review specific eras. This will be available for you guys. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can write in chat right now or demute and ask any question out loud. He'll be happy to answer. Yeah,
absolutely. Ask away.
Yeah, go ahead. Hit us with questions.
Hello, my name is Dustin, and I am the lead at White Thunder. What is White Thunder? We are a team of over 15 designers and developers that build monster games, and we'll be working on the rims of eternity. We're excited to share our progress with everyone in the community over the coming weeks and months. But if you have any questions, feel free to send us a message here on Telegram.
That is currently on. What's up?
This is the new MetaQuest 3S. High quality mixed reality for $299. Hell yeah. I've been waiting for this one for a long time. When we built Quest 3, we delivered the first high-quality mainstream mixed reality experience where you can see the world around you, you can reach out and touch digital things as if they're right there. Quest 3 is the best mixed reality device that you can buy today, and I'm really proud of it. Quest 3S has the same defining features as Quest 3, high-resolution, color, mixed reality, powered by the same processor, vivid pass-through, hand tracking, feels natural, touch plus controllers for precision. You get the full range of experiences from Horizon OS, gaming, social, fitness, watching videos, productivity, and more. So whether you're looking to get started with the base Quest 3S, or if you want the top-of-the-line Quest 3 with 512 gigabytes and 4K displays, which is now just $499, the Quest 3 family, it's not just the best value, it is the best product available. Everything you're gonna see up here is streamed from his headset live. This is what he is seeing. Yeah, it's sharp. All right, Kenny, what do we got? All right, now the first thing that you can see is that we have expanded the quality, the volume of content massively. Yeah, sorry to the dude next to him. Live demo artifact. All right, you can now run everything from 2D mobile apps to remote desktop for PC to fully immersive experiences all on one device. You can open screens, you can put them anywhere around you, you can have pretty much as many of them running as you want. And we have also rebuilt all of our social apps for mixed reality too. We've got all new Instagram and Facebook experiences to bring your feeds and your reels with you into mixed reality, a really nice interface so you can lean back, enjoy your content on nice big screens. And there's a bunch more too. All right, we've been working with Microsoft to upgrade remote desktop soon. So now you're going to be able to easily connect to any Windows 11 PC. You just look at the keyboard and it'll start pairing. So if you want to work on a giant virtual display or a bunch of virtual displays, or if you want to work on your projects without distractions or with other people, Quest is going to be able to be a natural extension of your PC. We're also bringing photorealistic spaces to the metaverse. And we call this Hyperscape. And the way this works is you can use your phone to scan a room and then recreate it, or you can step into a room that someone else has scanned and shared. Now, of course, there's gaming. We got some really good ones coming, showing off what the Quest 3 family can do. Batman Arkham Shadow up here. Exclusively on the Quest 3 family. It's going to be included in any purchase of a Quest 3 or 3S that you buy this fall. Lots of great experiences, a lot more coming soon. Today, we are making Meta AI even smarter with our new open source Llama 3.2 models. And I'm going to get into more details about Llama 3.2 in just a minute, but one of the headlines is that they're multimodal. So now Meta AI can natively understand images as well as text. Now, we're using this new capability to build some features that I haven't seen anyone else build. I mean, this is pretty interesting and novel stuff. Creative tools that we're adding to Imagine Edit. It lets you upload any photo and edit it precisely with natural language in Meta AI across the apps. I think that voice is going to be a way more natural way of interacting with AI than text. And probably, I think it has the potential to be one of, if not the most frequent ways that we all interact with AI. It is just a lot better. So now you're going to be able to have natural voice conversations with Meta AI across all the major apps. You got Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, Facebook. Hey, are live demos risky?
Live demos can be risky, yes. They can be unpredictable, prone to technical issues, and potentially embarrassing. However, they can also be engaging, memorable.
But I'm going to do it anyway.
Go for it. Just be prepared for anything to happen.
So you were one of the first creators to build one of these creator AIs with the text-only platform. Can you tell us what it does and your experience with it?
Yeah, so like for me, I've been treating my creator AI kind of like my digital assistant. So I've trained it on how I respond and how to engage with my audience. And then, yeah, it can like send DMs, can share links to relevant resources, and then what else am I having it do? Oh yeah, it guides people through conversation. It's great.
Congrats on the new book that you just released. What's the main thing that you're hoping that people take away from it?
Thank you so much. Yeah, the main thing I want people to take away from my book is the idea that you have the power to create your own opportunities by combining curiosity, adaptability, and resilience in a rapidly evolving digital world.
We are experimenting with automatic video dubbing on Reels, starting with English and Spanish. So this is going to be a way that you can see more of the content that's out there no matter what language you speak. And as a creator, this is going to let you reach a lot more people around the world no matter what language you speak. So now you're going to be able to take your content and it's going to be in your authentic voice, speaking other languages if you want. And we're also doing automatic lip syncing, so that way it actually looks like you were speaking the other language. So let's check this one out.
Mi lengua materna es el español, pero fíjate, ahora también puedo hablar inglés a través del doblaje automático de IA. My native language is Spanish, but check it out. Now I can also speak English through AI automatic dubbing.
So glasses, they're kind of the perfect form factor for AI, right? For letting an AI assistant see what you see, hear what you hear, be able to communicate with you privately, so it can help you out with whatever you're doing throughout the day. I am about to have a conversation with Brandon Moreno, former UFC flyweight champion of the world, where he is speaking Spanish and I am speaking English. All right, Brandon, you want to come out here and show us this?
Starting live translation from Spanish to English.
Hey, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo está tu rodilla? ¿Has vuelto a entrenar?
Hey, how are you? How is your knee back training?
Doing well. Knee is doing well. It feels strong. I'm ramping up training. How are you doing? Are you getting ready for your next fight?
Haciendo bien. La rodilla está haciendo bien y sentirse fuerte.
So today we are dropping a limited edition of clear, transparent frames. I think this is neat because it's a neat vibe, right? You can see the technology in them. For the first few versions, we spent so much energy designing the glasses to basically hide the technology, to make them look like normal, stylish glasses. But now I think people are starting to appreciate what makes them special, and I think having a design that celebrates that is pretty awesome. This is Orion, our first fully functioning prototype, and if I do say so, the most advanced glasses the world has ever seen. They're not a headset, no wires, less than 100 grams. They need wide field of view, holographic displays, sharp enough to pick up details, bright enough to see in different lighting conditions, large enough to display a cinema screen or multiple monitors for working wherever you go, whether you're in a coffee shop or on a plane or wherever you are. And you need to be able to see through them. And people need to be able to see through them too and make eye contact with you. Right? This isn't pass-through. This is the physical world with holograms overlaid on it. It is a completely new kind of display architecture with these tiny projectors in the arms of the glasses that shoot light into waveguides that have nanoscale 3D structures etched into the lenses so they can diffract light and put holograms at different depths and sizes into the world in front of you. And all of that is directed by custom silicon and sensors that we designed and powered by a battery that fits in the arm of the glasses. It is an absolutely incredible amount of technology to be able to miniaturize and fit into a pair of glasses and a small puck that goes with it to help power the whole thing. They're going to do voice and AI. They're going to do hand tracking and eye tracking, so you can select UI elements by looking at them. Voice is great, but the thing is sometimes you're in public and you don't want to say what you're trying to do with your computer out loud. Hand tracking is neat for controlling different interfaces, but you don't want to like walk down the street like this, right? So I think that you need a device that allows you to just send a signal from your brain to the device. So this isn't just the first full screen, like full wide field of view holographic AR glasses. This is also the first device that is powered by our wrist-based neural interface. We do still have a few things that I want us to keep pushing on before we ship this as a consumer product. We're going to keep tuning the display system to make it sharper. I want to keep working on the design to make it smaller and a bit more fashionable. And we're going to keep we need to keep working on the manufacturing to make it a lot more affordable too. But we have line of sight to all of those things. So we are going to use Orion as a dev kit. We are going to use it mostly internally to build out the software that we need to, but we're also going to work with a handful of partners externally to make sure that we get a diversity of content and just that we can really dial in the software and the experience, so that way, when we have the next version of this hardware, it is going to be ready to be our first consumer full holographic AR glasses.
We were already familiar with the concept of presenting digital images for prints, right? Artists would paint something and then make a print and sell it. So we were recognizing that it was just another way to get our artwork out there. But as you research more and find out, like the idea of the royalties is what changed everything. As soon as you had that conversation with any artist and said, listen, you can continue to earn on what you create, that was really the I guess the icing on the cake, right? That was what got people into it. So for me, it was more about
provenance, right?
Right, correct. Like the idea that you're going to have something that's out there, forever, right? And if you think about what kind of utility can be made available doing this, now artists could do things like create and manage a collection because they can add their own form of utility to the project, right? Start thinking about their art as something they could do this. And that's where spatial came in for me, because the idea is that's an additional utility you can add to any project, whether you're a creator, an artist, or anything. So having a space where you can bring your community in within NFTs, that was great because we already saw these collection of communities that were around a particular project, whether it be a PFP project or anything else. But you now had this and you could bring them in one shot, right? You go in, talk to the community manager, say, hey, create a space in spatial, invite everybody in on a Friday night and hang out and do the same things you're doing. And it becomes like a 3D Discord. So NFTs just represented a way to get communities together quickly and start to do things with each other because they were already doing that. Now, when you add gamifying and questing and badges and all these things, now you're just building further utility into those projects as they exist. Now they can start thinking about how does the 3D PFP become something. So it's evolving quickly. So when you talk about NFTs, I just immediately think about all the utility that you can offer to those projects and creators.
Of course, it's really interesting to think of it more so you do your digital art and then you have this entire thing that unfolds where you can do all those different elements that you wouldn't be able to do without it. And I think that's really powerful. Now, to go back to spatial in general, we mentioned, you talked about the story and where you evolved. And now you mentioned there is a big transition with the new Creator Toolkit. So now what is spatial's goal? Where do you want to go? What are the next steps for you?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, it's always been the same throughout. I think it's just the tools that have changed, and that's just giving creators and artists a platform for telling their stories, for sharing their work in all different kinds of ways. So the Creator Toolkit is really kind of just the next step in that journey. Because though we're using Unity, which is tends to be a more developer-focused platform, our community is, I'd say, majority like artists and creators, and maybe even like not developers, or people who don't consider themselves developers. But with the Creator Toolkit, they're able to essentially like upskill themselves and learn Unity. And build with Unity and then publish these spaces everywhere. So everything we've done, everything we're doing and stuff that we can get into a little bit later that's coming as well is all just to benefit artists and creators and allow them, because what's essentially happening now is, we're spatial, we like to consider it almost like the YouTube for 3D spaces. It's really this next generation of creators and influencers, whereas Web 2 was YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and those kinds of things, and people have gotten really skilled at using Adobe tools and things like that to create 2D content. Now we're getting into this phase where creators and influencers are becoming increasingly skilled and will have to be increasingly skilled in tool like Adobe tools for 3D and Unity and Unreal Engine and things like that for creating 3D experiences. And you're even starting to see that today too. If we want to talk about the hot topic of AI, there's obviously a lot going on there. Like every day, there's like another year in advance of AI.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, just what's going on with creating AI content for 2D, images and even videos are starting to get into. You're starting to see some early glimpses
early steps, yeah.
AI for 3D as well. How can you just through just talking create a whole 3D world? And that's something that's really interesting to us. That's really interesting to a lot of platforms in our industry as well. And it's all just about making it easier for creators to build and tell their stories.
For sure. Yeah, I think this is like kind of the only downside about 3D is there's such a big learning curve. I think it's really difficult for people to start because, especially 3D softwares are getting more and more complex as the time goes. I mean, just look at Blender and how it evolved over the last 10 years. It's crazy. And so somebody who's new and who wants to learn Blender tomorrow, they're scared of the progress. They don't know where to start, and I think it's discouraging for a lot of people. So I think AI can help to get the ball rolling, to get a finished product, to see your first results, and then obviously you would need to refine what you do with your own skill sets, similarly to how coders use AI nowadays with their code base. Now let's go back to what you mentioned before. You mentioned we are a community of devs and creators. How do you make both people talk together?
Yeah, Tyler, do you want to take that as a creator? So.
Yeah, well, I mean, all right. So the biggest thing I'm noticing right now, when you talk about building these metaverse spaces, these immersive 3D experiences, there is a point where the artist is just as important, right? And there's this meshing of technical skills and artistic skills, and we see them in the projects in general out there, because you need to have somebody who can code this and somebody who can create that, but then we need the art, right? And then we need to have the environment, or it's built on an idea. The collaborative aspect of it all is what lends itself to bridging that gap. I don't even think it's something even to worry about. It's like a foregone conclusion that if you're going to move forward with any kind of projects out here, you're going to need artistic viewpoints, right, from the creators, and then the technical side of things. And when you start doing this, you kind of unleash that creator side of the technical folks, and vice versa, because you have to gain these experiences in order to create in the space. And I think that's where Spatial has really made it possible for any skill level to come in and find a way to contribute to the conversation on how to create something or make it themselves, right? And then that's the point where you feel as though you're bridging the gap you're talking about.
I think also our community is like really unique in the sense that it's so like the types of people we have in our community like is so diverse. Like if you go into our Discord, we have roles in different channels for everyone from like 3D builders to musicians and educators and like traditional architects, and they're all kind of coming together in this space, and they're looking for each other. You have musicians looking for 3D builders and artists and stuff like that, and they're coming together. A great example is our friend and the musician Dope Stilo, LA-based musician and producer. He knows how to put on a show. He knows how to create great music, but he's not a 3D builder, which he shouldn't have to be. He focuses on the music. But what he's done over the last year and a half or more on Spatial is he's not only built up his whole community around his music, but he's collaborated with 3D builders like Cyber Nerd Baby, and Cyber Nerd Baby is a great team. Has built whole worlds for him and with him. So now Stilo isn't just performing on like a standard stage. He's got basically Stilo World. If you go to stilo.world, you can check it out, and he does performances every week. And it's this epic stage. You actually saw a glimpse of it in one of the earlier videos with the hover car with the giant kind of robot lady. In the background.
Okay.
That's
there it is. Right
this
there.
one. There
Yeah. So that's Stilo World. So now you can ride a hover car
during,
like over the stage during a performance. And now they just added vehicles, so you can drive like these like otherworldly golf carts around the space too. So they do performances all the time. They're even his community is even filming videos in the space too. They're doing like this almost like a little sitcom thing that they release every few weeks. So it's becoming it starts with the music and that art, but it goes quickly beyond that, where it's this whole immersive experience. And he is and his community have built out this brand as the Stilo brand and beyond, where he's collaborating with 3D artists, but also other musicians and hosting these concerts. So I think that's it's always a great example to show that, because showing how you can be a musician, which is not 2D or 3D artist, it's musical art, but still take advantage of this next generation of technology, the next generation of the internet, and how it really enhances the experience. Because even though he doesn't have millions of followers yet today, he's still able to have his own venue, his own.
Yeah, and it's an awesome experience.
Madison Square Garden, basically.
Yeah. Right. He's definitely evolved the fan club, right? The idea that it's not just a fan club. Now you're part of a community that has people that are being put up there to do their performances, opportunities for other artists to do spoken word, to sing, to do whatever they want, and it becomes kind of like that cavalcade.
Positive sharing,
talent,
100%. That's so cool. I think I really like this approach, and I think it's really important to give those creative tool sets to creators just to be even more creative. I think people just underestimate all the things you can do, and just think about this, where would you be able to see such a venue where music is performed, and instead of just chilling on your YouTube link where you're listening to a music, you can just go into this 3D space and see everything happening around you, and I don't know, do something at the same time.
You're an active participant in it. You're not just sitting, like, obviously you can sit back and just watch, but you can also now be an active participant, like co-collaborator with artists and stuff too, which is crazy.
I was thinking there are like so many co-streaming services, where you're just linking music to your friends and it's just syncing the music. And here it's basically the same, but with better visuals. You can chat with them, and even it's really cool. So I'm a big fan of this idea.
There's another level to it, and just something I always throw out there because I played around with the idea in my own studio, right? Is putting a TV on the wall and then logging into Spatial on it, and then having whatever world I'm in. So imagine having a large enough screen somewhere in your house that's logged into Spatial. It's like a window into another world. You can participate, contribute, and talk to the people that you see there, and it can be two ways if you wanted to. So that's kind of how we're introducing people to it as well.
Nice. I think this ties really well into the next question I wanted to ask, which is more so related on the question of the creator economy. And you talked about this before with NFTs, but I think there are also other ideas that are really interesting that are being discussed and thought about now, which is player retention, new player acquisition, and things like this. So how would you, I know it's a complex topic, but what are your thoughts on all those things, and where do you stand today?
Yeah. I mean, for us, that's definitely like very top of mind for us, like right now as we speak, is creator retention, monetization, all of those things. I mean, it's why, for one, we put out the creator toolkit because we have, Spatial's been around for a few years and you've always been able to build in Spatial. But it was, fairly limited. You can, bring in your own environments and worlds that were built with Blender. And you can bring in your own art, 2D and 3D art, and lay it out in a space through drag and drop. But there was really that next level of interactivity that creators were really asking for. All right, I can have this space and so I can go in there, but it's fairly static in what I can do. I want to make it, interactive. And Spatial is built on Unity at an underlying layer. So adding the toolkit was, something we've always wanted to do, and really allowed, creators to do that. We also didn't want to. You can see through these videos here that this one from Metaverse Fashion Week and the other ones you've seen. We don't want to limit creators to a certain artistic style or something like that as well. We really want to allow you to bring in your own style and vibe to Spatial. So if you go to spatial.io now, to the homepage, and you go through all the different categories, what's trending, what's popular, you'll see every space is very different stylistically and artistically from one another, because we want to allow creators and communities, projects to bring in your own assets right into Spatial, either traditional standard assets, NFTs, what have you, through Unity or through Spatial directly.